Welcome to Phoenix Healing Podcast, where mental health is our number one priority, featuring Liamzi Muniz. Enjoy. Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to Phoenix Healing Podcast, where mental health is our number one priority. So, I hope you're feeling fantastic, as you should be. Today, we're filming episode 2 of the new series called Dear Diary. And basically, this series is in moments when I feel a bit overwhelmed by certain emotions or thoughts or just something that's heavy on my mind. I sit with full vulnerability and I speak with you, and we kind of digest it and dissect it and try to better understand, because I think it's important that we highlight moments of not so much insecurity, but moments of darkness and confusion, because that's a normal aspect of our human reality, right? Like with the other series called Let's Chat, we can talk about things that are more, in a sense, factual, if that even makes sense. Things you can study and understand that way, but with this series, we actually sit down and I talk about interpersonal conflicts that we might connect with. So, of course, before beginning, we are going to start with some affirmations so that we can ground ourselves in this energy so that we may connect before moving forward and simply speak through an authentic portal. Okay, so let's begin with that. I trust in my decision making. I trust that I am exactly where I need to be. All that I am is more than enough. It is okay to not feel okay all of the time. Feelings are just part of the process. I am not my emotions. I'm not my experiences. I'm simply the observer. I am aware of what I need. In times of difficulty, I allow myself to take a step back and simply breathe. It is okay for me to just exist with no pressure. It is okay for me to love others. I am meant to be loved unconditionally. I am meant to be cared for. Unconditional love and support is my birthright. I allow myself to be surrounded by people, places, and things who make me want to become a better person. Every day, I am reminded of my strengths and capabilities. Every day, I am a greater me. Okay. So, let's jump into it. So, today's diary entry is a question. It's, am I a bad person for wanting to walk away from a connection? That is our question. That's what's been heavy on my mind lately. And I honestly feel like this has been a cycle for me. It's something I've felt before. It's something I've questioned myself about, right? Feeling that sense of guilt because you have come across someone or something that, doesn't really bring you the authentic fulfillment that you are deserving of. I feel like I've experienced connections where firsthand I'm like, okay, this is gonna work. Like, I feel like we have this sense of connection. And then the more that I sit in it, I'm like, oh, the reason why we feel so connected is because this person is searching for something that I feel I lack. So it's like we both bonded, we both connected because we are both searching for something that we both feel we lack. And sometimes that can be just company, right? Sometimes that can be someone's love in different forms, whether physical, emotional, mental. And I feel like through my experience, I feel like a lot of my connections, I have felt, um, I don't know, because I'm trying to reflect in terms of my connections in my past and how that relates to connections now in which I feel this way. And so in my past, I felt that I was constantly searching for people, places, and things to bring me that sense of not even fulfillment, but just feeling safety, feeling loved. And one of my greatest love languages is physical touch, right? That's that sense of physical intimacy. That makes me feel very loved. And that's one of the main ways that I like to show love as well, apart from affirmations, of course. But yeah, and so I search for that and I searched for it and I searched for it. And no matter how many people gave me that physical love, and this doesn't have to be sexual, by the way, but you know, I would receive it or I would give it. And as soon as these people will walk out of my life, it's like I still feel that I lack that, right? And it was because it wasn't the person that was giving me that sense of fulfillment. It was the fact that I used those people, places, and things almost as a substitute for that emptiness that I felt inside. And that feeling that I felt inside, that sense of lack, was that I wasn't giving it to myself, right? I wasn't maybe showing myself the physical love that I needed. I wasn't caring for my body in the ways that I needed to be cared for. I didn't view my body in a way that I had to be viewed in terms of feeling appreciated, right? And I've also been learning that physical intimacy, it isn't just with a person, you know, and that's pretty new for me to understand, because when I felt lonely or when I felt that I lacked that sense of love and appreciation, the first thing I thought of was, okay, so maybe I need like physical love from another human being. And it's like I don't think that's the only form of physical intimacy. You know, like for example, I sleep with a stuffed animal. I sleep with a stuffed dinosaur. And that is a form of physical intimacy because I have an object that I'm physically holding and it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel comfortable. That's a form of physical intimacy, right? And that was really hard for me to understand because of my viewpoints on intimacy in general. And I would fear intimacy so much, yo. Like I would crave intimacy, but I would fear it because I would attach myself. I would have this anxious attachment due to my abandonment issues and fears of abandonment, right? I would anxiously attach myself to this person, place, or thing. And so that's when those constant desires for intimacy, which I thought was only physical. I'm kind of jumping around, but you know, this is a diary entry, girl. Like I just talk about what's on my mind. But yeah, like I used to think that intimacy was purely just physical. I did not know intimacy can go beyond the human body, right? I thought that intimacy was just being intimate, and for the most part I thought it was being sexual, right? And now learning that intimacy is so much more. It's broadened this perspective on my connections and relationships with people in general, right? And there are moments when I do desire physical intimacy in ways where I want to appreciate another human's body, and then I want my body to be appreciated as well, right? And when I get those desires and I'm in this state of lack, instead of me being conscious that this is just a form of my expression of love, right? When I'm in this state of lack, I search for these people, places, and things to kind of fill in that gap for me, and that can cause me to act from a place of really feeling like I need someone, right? And that's not true. I don't think that we need anyone. I mean, it's nice to have people in our lives and that can add to your healing and sense of growth and support. But I really don't believe that we need someone. And so when I act from a place of lack and feeling that I need this person, I need, the physical intimacy, I need to be this and that with these people, it almost, not, not even almost, like I get so attached emotionally that's when this battle starts happening in my mind, where it's like, I am aware that I do not need this. I am aware that this is not coming from a place of authenticity. I am aware that this isn't something that my highest self or my most authentic self desires, right? This is coming from a place of wanting to feel that love, wanting to feel appreciated. And so that's where that lack comes in. And and sometimes what happens is I lose myself in these connections, and I lose myself in these fantasies and ideas of how a person can love me. And we don't know how a person can really love us, especially if it's, connections that are still pretty fresh, Those fantasies, those thoughts, those are ways that you can love. And that's such like a big realization, right? Because it's like, when we're in this honeymoon phase almost, or when you feel that you are infatuated over a person, you desire them so much and you want to feel them, you want to love them, you want to do all of these things, right? These are ways that you love, and what you're doing is you're projecting that onto this other person and feeling or imagining what it would feel like to be loved the way that you love. Drop the motherfucking mic. So this is why sometimes we say, like, when you get out of a relationship that was, toxic or just overall wasn't the best for you or the other person, it's like, it's not that you miss that person. It's you miss the way that your own love was reflected back to you. You miss that feeling. And these are things that we can give to ourselves. And so when I question myself and I'm like, well, if I walk away, does that make me a bad person, right? Because I'm someone who loves to love, and I want everyone to feel loved, and I want everyone to feel appreciated. I want everyone to feel seen. And so sometimes I would place myself in these spaces where I would kneel down to these people and I would do whatever made them feel loved, right? I would express love in ways that I felt they would feel most, so that they can feel loved. Because honestly, when I meet people, the first thing I see is their highest self. Even if they're not in that position, if they're not in that space at the moment, I see it like right off the bat. And then I start seeing the shadow parts of these people, and the wounds and the parts that still need some love and care and nurture. And then that's when I come out with the cape, even in moments when I'm not supposed to, right? I come out with the cape and I'm like, you know what? I feel like I can help this person. I feel like I can show them what true unconditional love can feel like, right? I can show them what feeling accepted feels like. I can show them what a safe space can feel like and how amazing it could be, right? And I give myself all these responsibilities and burdens that do not belong to me, simply because I want that person to feel nurtured, to feel loved, to feel safe, to feel, like they can embody the highest sense of self. And sometimes sometimes it makes me feel almost like angry and saddened, because I just wish, this was something that we can all naturally feel. But of course, when it comes to healing, when it comes to growing, someone else can't do that for you, right? Someone else can't do that for you, no matter how much someone loves you. Only you have the choice of whether or not you want to heal those wounds, and you want to become the greatest version of yourself, and you want to improve. And sometimes I can be a bit ignorant in that sense, where it's like, oh, I just want to love them, like I want to be the one to save them. I want to be the one to heal them. I want to be the one to love them. And it's because when I express love in these ways, it also reflects back to me, and it makes me feel like, I'm a good person. I love them. Like, I'm able to love, and the fact that I know that I can love, it just makes me want to love more. And not everyone deserves it. And that's the thing where it's like, I have these little arguments with myself where it's like, I know that not everyone is deserving of my energy and my space, but I do truly, deeply believe that every single human being is deserving of feeling loved and feeling cared for, or in a sense just understood. And sometimes it's difficult for me to walk away from a connection or a person, because that's when I walk out of this connection and into the unknown, where it's like, well, I don't know if this person is going to receive that love. I'm aware that I'm not the only person in the world who can love and who can heal or help heal people. But just knowing that there's someone, there's someone here who holds so much potential and so much love within themselves that I feel that they are neglecting, or I might see that in some ways they're holding back, or there's just those deep wounds. I'm like, damn, like, I don't want to walk away and abandon this person. Keyword is abandon, because that's what I'm doing. I'm projecting my own fears of abandonment onto other people. And so what that does is it places me in this situation where I feel that I am a villain. That I am a villain because I'm not able to be in these spaces with these people without it draining me or without it hurting me. And then that makes me feel like I'm abandoning these people, right? That makes me feel like I'm giving up. And that's one thing about this big old motherfucking heart. It never fucking gives up. Like, my heart never gives up. It always wants to keep loving. It always wants to support. It always wants to show people that, hey, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, but we both deserve love. So I want to give it to you. I want this little love exchange. And I'm like, I just wish everyone in the entire universe just felt loved and accepted, And I feel like maybe in some ways I do project my own internal feelings of lack when it comes to the way that I accept and love myself. Because I'm not gonna lie, there are really amazing souls in my life who have showed me love, right? But a lot of it is very virtual. And because one of my main love languages is physical intimacy, sometimes I really, really want like a hug, like a genuine hug from a person, or I just really want to like just care for someone and give someone like a massage, or like take care of their body, show them that they are appreciated beyond the boundaries of sex, And so sometimes I get this sense of guilt when I desire to love someone in that way, because the society is so fucking sexualized. I'm like, bro, like I feel like you can't even be friends with just someone of the opposite sex without it being viewed as more than just two souls appreciating each other, you know what I mean? And so sometimes I want to physically show someone that they are loved and appreciated. I want to view your body as artwork and better understand it and see it for its rawness and appreciate it and show love to it, because I feel like we all deserve that. We all deserve to be in a space and be surrounded by people who are willing to love you in every single level without it having to be lustful, without it having to be sexual, without it having to be more than just two souls appreciating and loving each other, And I'm not gonna lie, there are moments when I desire someone in a more lustful form. And that's something that I'm trying to walk away from, right? And when I realize that it is more lustful, I'm like, okay, let me not do that. Let me better understand, well, why do I desire that? And because of that process of self-awareness, that's when I realized that one of my love languages is physical intimacy. And so when someone desires me physically, it makes me feel loved, right? And I'm so used to, at least from my past experiences, I got used to physical intimacy being projected as lust or being portrayed as lust because, people who have been physically intimate with me, I feel that it wasn't in a genuine sense of trying to love and care for my body physically, right? And that's just something I don't ever want to place someone in that space. And and so when I approach someone or someone approaches me and I feel that lustful desire, I allow myself to feel it, first of all, because, finding someone attractive is okay. But when you objectify a person, that's when I'm like, girl, you gotta cut this out. That's what we're not gonna do. Don't even play with them. And I step away for a second and I start adding more meaning to it. And so just to give you an example, I'm getting real fucking real vulnerable right now because y'all getting all the tea. But for example, I met this person who I felt very lustful towards, where I was just very physically attracted to. And I was in that space where I desired that physical intimacy. But because I'm more conditioned, or because of my experiences, I have that conditioning or perspective that physical intimacy is lustful or it's sexual, that's what I desired. And then once I realized that, I was like, you know what? It isn't fair for me to ever place someone in that position, because I've been in that position before where people have been physically intimate with me or sexual with me simply for the idea that I have an attractive body. It wasn't so much of them trying to care for it. And so I stepped away from that idea, and I'm like, you know what? Let's view it differently. This is a human that I'm talking about. It's not just this object. It's not just this piece of me. It's not just this toy. And once I viewed them through that perspective, this flow of compassion came out, right? I was able to view them from a place of compassion rather than lust and desire and like ego cravings, right? And I'm like kind of holding back because I'm like, hold on, what if they listen to this? But honestly, this is my diary and I'm willingly choosing to share it with you guys. So let's just continue. But yeah, I started to view them more from a place of compassion. And then I'm like, okay, I find their body extremely attractive because it looks like a piece of art to me, right? So when you view someone from a place of compassion, you no longer see their body as just this body, as this object. You start to see it and form this perspective and appreciation for it as a piece of artwork. And that's what I've been really setting my feet into, grounding myself into the perspective and appreciation of the artistry of a body. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want to acknowledge their body and love their body and appreciate their body. And I feel like this was something that we both had in common. Like, we both wanted to do that. But then I started to feel that maybe it was becoming a little more intimate than I wanted it to, or than I was expecting it to. And I don't know, like I started to step back up a little bit because I'm like, I want to appreciate the body, but I don't want it to come with strings attached and all these things, And as I'm saying appreciate the body, I'm not stating sexual. Just putting that out there. Just simply appreciating the body. But yeah, and so as we got more comfortable, I felt that, okay, I now understand that this connection isn't ever going to be more more than just us appreciating each other, more than just holding space for each other. And I don't want it to be, or didn't want it to be, romantic in any way. But then at the same time, it's like, I don't want to place myself in a space with someone who desires more when that's not what I desire, because then I start feeling like I'm using that person, right? And then that's when that guilt comes in again. It's like, fuck, like, I want to appreciate every human being on this earth, and as much as I really want to, sometimes walking away is the best answer, not so much for you, but also for the other person. You know, it's like, I don't ever want someone to get attached or really comfortable with me, and then because that's not something that I would want with certain connections, I would have to remove myself, and then that's when I'm like, damn, but then they're gonna feel abandoned, and they're gonna feel like I gave up on them, and that's never what I want to do. Like, like, I feel very emotional right now, because it's like, I don't ever want to feel like I'm giving up on a person, because I know that I have a lot of love to give, but sometimes it's like, not everyone should have access to my love if it's not completely reciprocated in a way where it actually makes me feel like I'm being completely appreciated. Like, I'm trying to put this in the best way possible, bruh. Hey, bestie, you're gonna have to hang with me, please. Sometimes putting my emotions or feelings and thoughts into words can be difficult, because in my brain, it's like a whole bunch of little puzzle pieces. I'm watching each one of them, right? And I can form somewhat of a picture, but when I'm speaking it, it's like, how am I gonna organize this? But yeah, it's like, I don't ever want to simply walk away from a person because I desire just one aspect of intimacy with that person, which I also feel like low-key doesn't make sense, because if you're intimate physically with a person, that should include like emotional and mental, right? What do you think? Because I feel like that's how it should be. So maybe reflecting back, maybe in some ways it wasn't so much that I wanted that genuine physical intimacy. Maybe it was from a place of lust. Maybe it was because when I feel desired physically, I feel loved and I feel, cared for. We're digesting this. I told you guys we're going to digest this, because, I have these little constant battles in my mind where it's like, oh, you're doing the right thing. You're a good person. And it's like, no, the fuck you're not. No, the fuck you're not. Like, clear up your intentions. So that's what I want to do, and I want to be very vulnerable and open with you. Like, maybe I'm sharing a little too much, but it's like, you know what? I want to be somewhat of an example that it's okay to not always have the answers. It's okay to experience something to see what happens and where it goes. And that's what's happening with certain connections in my life, where it's like, I don't know what I would want from these connections or how they could help me, but I'm allowing myself to step into them and just experience, just explore. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. If it does, then it does. Great, right? It's like, sometimes I get so into my mind, and I like nitpick and I look at every single detail, and I'm like, no, why is this here? Like, what is the reason for that? Like, why did this happen? I'm like, girl, like, let me breathe. But yeah, it's like, let's allow ourselves to be humans for a second. Let's allow ourselves to indulge in desires, and if we feel that that's not actually what we want, then okay, we live and we learn, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And me saying this, I'm literally speaking to myself because sometimes I have to keep that in mind. Like, girl, we are adults now. You know, it's okay for you to want to experience more things in your life. And if it's something that you desired in a moment and it was a reflection of this lacks, of this state of lack, then we can learn from that, and we can better understand moving forward how to identify those feelings and identify if it is really something that your soul and your authentic self wants, or if it's something that your ego wants, that your wounds wants, that your trauma wants, right? And sometimes I do attract connections that feed more into my wounds and my trauma than it does my highest self. And I also have connections that make me want to be the highest and greatest version of myself. And I'm so grateful for those connections, because it's like every time I come across one that's more about, covering up or taking a space of emptiness, or just my wounds in general, I'm reminded by these other connections that this isn't one of true authenticity. It's one where we're both projecting our lacks. We're both projecting the things that we crave because we feel that we're missing it, right? And when you crave something because you feel that you're missing it, that's you telling yourself that this is what I need. And it's not that you need it from another person, it's that you need it from yourself. Yeah? And sometimes it's difficult to identify that, and that's okay. We live and we learn, as I stated before. And sometimes I have to remind myself, like, hey, it's okay to not understand what you want from a connection. It's okay to not understand what you want from life, what you want from the universe, what you want from your experiences, but allowing yourself the space and the compassion to experience it, to better understand. That is you taking that first step. That is you showing yourself that I love you enough to make space for you to experience the things you want to experience, right? So, I don't know. I definitely have been feeling a lot better, because it's like sometimes love is expressed in so many different ways, right? And so sometimes walking away is a form of love. It's not abandonment. It's not you giving up. It's not. It's you accepting that sometimes. Ew, hold on. Y'all heard that little? That was not it. Ugh, that gave me a little shiver down my spine. But sometimes walking away is a form of love, because you're accepting that, hey, if I continue to be here to fill this empty space for this person, they're never going to learn how to heal it, and vice versa. If I'm here as a form of company, as a form of like a band-aid almost, right, to cover up someone's wounds, and even to cover up my own sometimes, I'm not giving myself that space to heal, and that's not love. That is attachment. That is coming from a place of lack and fear. And so, yes, sometimes walking away is a form of love. So you're still a good person. It doesn't make you an evil person because you feel like this is a space that you shouldn't be in, even if you want to. Like, I'm gonna be real honest with ya. With the connection that I was speaking of, it's like, I want to, but I know that I shouldn't, because it's feeding into my past wounds and my past trauma and past experiences that I still need to heal. And in order for me to heal that, I cannot be in the presence of these people, right? And vice versa. Sometimes the other person could be in a place where they feel like they're missing these energies and missing whatever it is that they're feeling, and so they want to keep you there so that you continue to show them those feelings and continue to give them the space to feel that. And That's also not your job, right? You're not a band-aid. You're a soul. You're an actual living being, and we need to go into a space of compassion where we understand that we're all on our own personal paths and journey, and not everyone is going to be able to be there with you, even if you really want to, even if you really want to show them, like, hey, there's so much more to life, right? It's like we're on these two paths, right? And no, let's make it a car. Let's say we're all in the same car and there's windows all around. And there's one person who's, looking out the window and viewing all the beautiful things. They're like, hey, like, that's so, like, yeah, that's radical, dude. Like, viewing it and accepting it and appreciating it. And they're feeling that sense of fulfillment and joy. And they're tapping on the person behind them, like, yo, look, like, you have to see this or you're going to feel amazing. But that person doesn't want to look, right? And no matter how much you try, it's like the more you're trying to tell them to look, the more you're missing out on the things that are passing by you, by your window, right? And we can't force someone to feel these things. We can give someone temporary satisfaction, but satisfaction is not fulfillment. Satisfaction is not happiness. Satisfaction is you substituting the things that you're supposed to do, or the things that are healing you, for something that is going to give you temporary feelings. And when a connection is like that, that's not one of authenticity. That's not one that is healthy or good for either one of you, because it's coming from a place of lack, a place of craving comfort because you're in a state, or there are wounds within you that you might not even be aware of, to be honest, that make you feel uncomfortable, that make you feel unsafe, that make you feel unloved in some ways. But it's not anyone else's responsibility to heal it but yours. And you can have these mutual agreements to help each other heal. I think that's okay. But if it's not on the same page, if you guys are not on the same alignment in terms of wanting to improve yourself, it's something you should walk away from. And that does not make you a bad person. That makes you an amazing person. That makes you a courageous person. That makes you a warrior, makes you super brave, makes you, in some sense, a hero, right? Because you're choosing to not ignore or run away from the truth. You're choosing to face it, to understand it, to accept it, to internalize it, and move forward with that truth. Move forward with that energy of authenticity and true alignment to self. Let them know. So, I don't know. I feel like I definitely touched topic on things I wanted to, because sometimes I do feel guilty. But, it's also understanding that, hey, love comes in different forms, and sometimes love isn't expressed in our love language, right? It's expressed in other ways, and that can seem uncomfortable, that can seem a little confusing, but that is truth. That is unconditional love. Unconditional love, through my perspective, is acceptance. And I'm always gonna say that. If you ain't listened to that episode about unconditional love, you should definitely listen to it. It's like, even now, with those past episodes that I recorded, I listen back to it and I'm like, damn, like, I also should have stated this. I should have added this to it, because as I'm expressing my current perspectives, I'm broadening them and I'm expanding them. So I was like, wait, now I have more to say about these topics. But I also love that each EP is almost like a different expression of myself, right? And that's why I wanted to do these Dear Diary series, where it's not so much me like reading notes or getting information from the internet or making it like super research kind of thing, not have such specific topics. But with these, it's like as if I were sitting there writing in my journal, writing my feelings and trying to piece together where it's coming from and how to understand it. That is literally what I do. I'll be having a whole therapy sessions with myself. Don't even play. Like, I'll grab my journal and I'll write myself a question in third person, like, why does Liamsy feel this way? Like, I'll write it that way, and then below it, I'll write how I'm feeling, or I write what happened, or I write this and this and that. And as I'm reading over it, I'm internalizing it. I'm viewing it. I'm observing it. I'm like, okay, without judging. That is the trick. Observe as if you were literally a person outside of yourself. That's why I do it in third person, but just a little mental hack. And once I observe it, I ask myself more questions, and I get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into my mind. And eventually I come to a better understanding of where I was coming from, of what energy I was in, and what space I was in at the moment, and why things happen, and how I was feeling, and why I reacted that way. So that's what I want to do in this series. It's as if I were doing that process, but speaking wise, right? I want to practice expressing my emotions and my thoughts in ways that aren't so like all over the place, in ways where it's more me sharing to share rather than me sharing to get a feeling or evoke a feeling out of people. That's something else I realized. It's getting a little lengthy, this episode. I just love spending time with you guys, but I realized, like, sometimes I would share things to evoke a feeling or expression out of someone. And I realized in those moments, if I didn't receive what I expected or what I wanted to receive in terms of how they would react or respond, I'd feel disappointed. And the reason I felt disappointed wasn't because of that person. It's because I was sharing to get a reaction that would satisfy my own internal discomfort, right? That would make me feel valued or seen and appreciated, at least through the perspective that I had. And so I'm practicing sharing to truly share, sharing exactly what I am and who I am and how I am, without really worrying about or thinking about, well, how's the other person going to react, right? Because when we put ourselves in those spaces of simply sharing to be authentic, to because that's just how you express and are, you allow yourself the space and the love to be yourself without worrying about judgment, without, changing and tweaking things up so that someone else feels comfortable. Is like, no, it don't matter. And people who are going to naturally appreciate you will appreciate you, and you will feel that extra little spice of value and love from that other person. But if they don't, then it shouldn't affect you, because the reason you were expressing was not to get a reaction or to get affirmations from another person. It was to simply be yourself. And so that's why this is another reason this series is really going to help me out. This podcast in general is helping me out, It's allowing me to verbalize my internal world in ways that I don't usually do, because a lot of the people around me, they don't sit down and have these conversations, and those who do are very far away from me. So this is another way of healing, right? We're healing together, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and I really hope that you stick along for this crazy ass journey, and we're just gonna see what happens. I do want to mention before we end this episode that I am going to start a series of episodes where I have guests and I have other people who I can actually speak to. I'm like, dang, so that we can get different perspectives all in one sitting, which I think is beautiful, and we can learn from each other very much live and hear in person, let them know. So that is going to happen. Not sure when. I'm thinking more like when we reach episode 10, so that we have a nice thick base, and then we can build from there. But you will be updated, of course, if you decide to stick along. If not, that's okay. No hard feelings. I still wish you the best in your life, and I send you love and healing energies on this journey. Whew, y'all be getting out of breath. But yeah, this brings me to the end of this episode. Does walking away make me a bad person? No. No. If you truly feel like that's something you have to do, then do it. And that is coming from a place of love. Okay? And if these people who you're, even if it's like a place or a thing or a habit, if they do not accept that, hey, I'm doing this because I feel that this is the best thing for me, fuck it. Anyways, moving along. Nah, but for real though, like, you know, we can hold compassion for people, but if they don't hold compassion for you, then is just keep on moving with your life. Don't take it personally. Don't internalize their projections, right? They're doing that because, I don't know, maybe they really liked you substituting that space for them and covering up their wounds so they don't have to think about it, okay? But, yes, this is an episode. And I hope you beautiful, beautiful fucking soul. I hope you have a fantastic morning, day, evening, night, whatever it may be for you. Because you are deserving of all of the amazing things under the sun. Because all of the amazing things under the sun are you, babe. Like, don't even play. Okay? And I will catch you next week for next week's EP. We'll see what comes up. We'll see if we got some more trauma and wounds to work through together. And then just go from there, you know. If you haven't tapped into my last episodes, go ahead and do that. I feel like as I watch through them, I kind of see myself changing and evolving in some ways. I don't know. You guys can watch it and see if you pick up on that. See if you note some things about the way that I'm expressing and how it's changed throughout these episodes. But yes, I will see you next week. I love you so. And peace.